got to get away, start again, find a brand new day. So much for me to find, but I've got to go outside.
Hello van fans, welcome to another episode of VFFs Vanlife Podcast. This is going to be a bit of a noisy intro because in my wisdom I decided to come to a really busy car park. Also there's a man mowing the lawn that's here. So it's kind of noisy, so apologies for that. But you know what? This is real life. I'm in my camper van, it's real, it's on the spot, journalism at its truest. So hooray for me for deciding to come here, especially on this episode, which I wanted to be like perfect. But do you know what? Life ain't perfect. Oh dear. Okay, so today guys, I'm so excited because I'm talking to you about the absolute classic VW Type 2 campervan. So the VW Type 2 is something that we all know, we all recognise. It was actually one of the first ever camper vans, and that is just amazing, the fact that it's still so popular today. So here is a history of the VW Type 2 campervan. The Volkswagen Type 2, known officially as the Transporter, Combi or Microbus, was released in 1950 by the German automaker Volkswagen as its second car model, the first being the Type 1 Beetle. Like the Beetle, the van has received numerous nicknames worldwide, including the Microbus, Minibus and Hippiebus. The concept for the Type 2 is credited to Dutch Volkswagen importer Ben Pon. Pon visited Wolfsburg in 1946, intending to purchase Type 1s for import to the Netherlands, where he saw a Plattenwagen, an improvised parts mover based on the Type 1, and he realised that something better was possible. He first sketched the van in a Doodle dated 23rd of April 1947, proposing a payload of 690 kilograms and placing the driver at the very front. Volkswagen approved the van for production on the 19th of May 1949, and the T2 made its debut at the Geneva Motor Show and went on sale the following year in 1950. It was a stylish, if unexpected design, a scientifically streamlined utility vehicle with a 1.1cc air-cooled engine hidden under the floor at the back, and with the driver perched over the front wheels holding a big bus-style steering wheel. The T2 thrummed along, accompanied by its distinctive VW beat at 60 miles an hour, carrying up to a ton while weighing little more itself. It was quiet inside, while the rear-mounted engine provided impressive traction, enabling the vehicle to pull away happily in sand or snow. The VW Type 2 became popular with the counterculture of the 1960s, thanks to its ability to transport a large group of people while being cheap and easy to maintain. Its design was simple yet spacious, thanks largely to the rear-mounted engine. The van became popular with young people because it allowed a group of people to travel comfortably and was big enough to live in, so it could be used for long-distance journeys such as to music festivals or surfing locations. It contrasted starkly with the large, low sedans that were normal at the time, giving the van an alternative and rebellious image. Vans were often painted with extravagant designs in bright colours, making them stand out on the road even more. The hippie van remains iconic today, thanks to being featured on the cover of albums by musicians such as Bob Dylan and the Beach Boys, and being used by fans of the Grateful Dead while following the band on tour. But most iconic of all, the music festival Woodstock, which was held in the summer of 1969, saw plenty of brightly painted VWs transporting excited young crowds. The VW Type 2 was in production for 56 years in total, with its last 600 special final editions being produced in Brazil. Whilst the later models of the VW Campervan may not have quite the iconic status of the Type 2, they remain massively successful, selling in huge numbers and still enjoying the same loyal following. For me, the VW Type 2 evokes feelings of the open road, festivals, ultimate freedom, the dream of the never-ending summer road trip. It makes me think about a simpler life close to nature, full of surfing, music and friends. The VW Type 2 evokes a dream and keeps it alive, a dream that many of us van life folk believe in deeply. And in many ways, we have the VW Type 2 to thank for inspiring a generation of free thinkers and alternative lifestyles. So, to Ben Pon, I say thank you for doodling the Type 2 and dreaming that something incredible could happen. There you go, that was just a brief history of the lovely VW Type 2 campervan. If you would like to find out more about the VW Type 2, or if you would like to see the doodle that Ben Pon drew, you can go to benpon.com and then click on the history tab and you'll see the actual doodle that he did, and it's so cool because it has everything, you know. It's just a simple drawing, but it's got the rear engine, it's got the steering wheel right up top. It's so cool. It's got the classic shape literally from the first doodle he ever did. And do you know what I loved about that story? It's the fact that we've all been there, you know. If you own a van, and especially if you've done your own van build, we've all been there with a notepad and a pen, and we've just scribbled a rough drawing of something, and we've got a dream and we know what we want to create, and that simple drawing turns into something amazing that we build ourselves. And I just love the fact that today you can still see that doodle. So I really would recommend going on benpon.com on the history tab to see the doodle, and also you can see a picture of the Plattenwagen, which is what inspired him. That dog in the background there obviously agrees with me. So yeah, I would really recommend going on there and having a look. I'm going to read out an email from a listener who owns a VW Type 2. This is from Chris. Hi Kat, I discovered your podcast over the last few days and I'm really enjoying it. It's refreshing to hear a podcast from a UK van lifer rather than the usual Americans. Thanks. I've been interested in van life for years now, but I haven't had the guts to take the plunge yet. I bought a 77 VW in 2011 after I got a bonus from work. It was a bit of a wreck, but I smartened it up, built an interior, and I've been using it all the time since 2016 for surfing at the weekends, so it does plenty of miles too. I live near Warrington in the northwest, so my nearest surf break is Porth. I really don't know how to pronounce this. Porthnaigel? Apologies all you Welsh listeners. Abersoch in North Wales. It's about a 240-mile round trip, so it really adds up over a year. Not bad for a 44-year-old van. I'm quite proud. At the time, I didn't have the money to restore it professionally and I can't weld, so I just repaired it as best as I could. The biggest problem was around the windows on the sides. There was so much rust there. I don't know how the glass hadn't fallen out. I had to replace the glass with perspex as the repairs aren't flexible enough to twist the rubber seals over them. It might not be the perfect way to do things, but I really enjoyed doing it and it's held up very well, about 8 years since I finished it now. It's so nice driving around in something that seems to make people happy, lots of thumbs up and waves from people. I love the colour too, they're proper VW shades. I just painted it with spray cans. Driving to Abersoch so often, I've got faith in my old bus. I really expected the reliability to be a problem, but it just shrugs off almost weekly 250-mile round trips. So don't believe everything you hear about the old V-Dubs being a nightmare. Hope you're finding some good spots to stay and getting plenty of subscribers. Thanks, Chris. Thank you so much for writing to me. So you can see pictures of Chris's lovely VW on my Instagram, which is at VFFs_Vanlife_podcast. If you would like to write to me about your van, or if you would like to talk to me on the podcast, you can email vffspodcast@gmail.com. That's VFFS podcast@gmail.com. So, on to today's guests. I chat with the wonderful Lee and Willow, also known as the Combi Chronicles. Lee, Willow and their rescue cat Aimee have been road tripping around the US and Mexico ever since they shipped their 1976 VW to the US a year and a half ago. We chat all about their adventures, hanging out in Baja California and the kindness of strangers. It was such a pleasure to talk to these guys. It just inspired me so much. I'm absolutely desperate to go on a US road trip, and it was so lovely to hear some UK van life people that have done that, because they are few and far between. It's quite a long chat as well, so I hope you really enjoy it. We discuss so many different things and they have some really lovely experiences to share. So without further ado, here is the episode with the Combi Chronicles. Lee, Willow and Aimee, welcome to VFFs. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to speak to you.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I want to start right at the beginning. How did you meet and when did you get the idea for this amazing trip?
Okay.
How did we meet?
Well, that's so romantic.
Lovely romantic story.
Yeah.
I'll let you.
Oh, okay. In probably one of the grottiest nightclubs in Birmingham.
Yeah, an indie club called Snobs.
Yeah, the kind where you stick to the floor and the vodka's like £2 a shot, that kind of place. So we met there.
£2 a shot. That's like 4 shots.
No, yeah, that's a double.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on. That was in what, 2012?
Yeah.
We met there.
Outside.
And yeah, it's kind of escalated, I guess.
Yeah, and then we realised we had a lot of common interests. And as the longer we were together, we started talking about maybe travelling.
Yeah, I think I always really wanted to travel, and you never really travelled. I'd done a little bit.
Yeah, I'd never really travelled, and I'd had, at the time I met you, I had like 2 different job offers for Dubai and Italy because I wanted to get abroad.
Yeah, and I did a little bit and I really wanted to do some more, but I never really thought about doing it in a camper. I was probably more thinking backpacking or something.
Yeah, and I think the living in a van came about at your parents over Christmas.
Yeah, was it my mum who suggested it, like off the cuff or something?
Yeah, we were talking about how I liked VWs.
Yeah, you always liked VWs. I didn't really care much.
You just wanted to travel.
Yeah, I wasn't really bothered, and I think my mum suggested something about why don't you go to America or something?
People travel across America in them, you can hire them. And yeah, the idea was born.
It kind of grew from there into actual reality.
Oh, brilliant. That's funny because my next question was going to be what did your friends and family think? But it sounds like your mum was well on board before you guys were.
I'm not sure she expected us to do it. No. I don't think she actually thought we would go ahead and commit to it, and a lot of our friends and family were a bit kind of surprised, I think.
Yeah, they weren't quite sure. They were like, what? You want
I mean, I think our friends and family, not so much because they know us, but it's like random people who are like, you gave up your job and are you sure that's a good idea?
Yeah. When I was at school, I was teaching primary school, and I was very fortunate to constantly every year have a little promotion, a bit more responsibility.
Thanks for listening to this preview of VFFs Vanlife Podcast. You can listen to the full episode at vffsvanlife.com/podcast. Hope you enjoy it.
I've got to go outside.